Can you fix gut issues and improve symptoms of IBS without going on any crazy elimination diet? The research says yes, and we're going to break it down inside today's episode. Welcome to sammillerscience, where you're joining me nearly 2 decades into my personal journey to bridge the gap between macros, metabolism, muscle, and medicine. If you're joining me, thanks for trusting me to elevate your health and realize your true potential. Each week and inside every episode, I'll be sharing methods and models from my coaching journey and my personal experience, as well as the science that you need to achieve whatever specific goals you're working on in your life. Let's jump in to today's show. The strategies and tactics that I'm talking about and referring to inside today's podcast are largely the brain portion of the gut-brain axis. There's multiple aspects and lifestyle perspectives that can combine into a perfect storm for IBS or general gut issues. The research is clear when it comes to IBS and gut issues. The 2 main risk factors are chronic stress and poor diet. Depending on what type of lit review, journal, or study that you look at, some put stress as an even higher risk factor than diet as a standalone. For example, a 2023 review looking at irritable bowel syndrome risk factors and the prevalence across Saudi Arabia saw that stress was an even more recurrent risk factor than diet was. The next biggest risk factor was low socioeconomic status, which plays both into someone's individual stress levels and their diet quality if you consider how socioeconomics play into food choices. Being stressed raises cortisol and sympathetic nervous system activation, which has a number of physiological effects that are going to impact the gut. In general, higher stress levels are going to decrease stomach acid production, which then raises the risk for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and the associated symptoms. The sympathetic nervous system, or our fight or flight system, directly connects to the gut's nervous system. When it's overactive, this causes the gut's nervous system to stimulate the immune system, and this causes white blood cells to release macrophages to release antimicrobial substances that may kill off good bacteria. In addition to that, they may also release pro-inflammatory cytokines. These are chemical messengers. They're basically pro-inflammation messengers that generate more gut inflammation. If you combine those factors with a poor diet, this is a recipe for disaster when it comes to the gut microbiome. An ultra-processed diet or standard American diet, when you think about Western, hyper-palatable, high-calorie foods that are low in micronutrients, this is lacking in fiber, and fiber is important to feed our good gut bugs. But ultra-processed foods also are generally devoid of important vitamins, minerals, polyphenols, and antioxidants. Recent studies show that many good bacteria also feed off of polyphenols, not just the dietary fiber itself. On top of that, many processed foods are actually loaded with dietary irritants or GI irritants. So things like oxidized omega-6 rich oils, but also dietary emulsifiers or gums. Certain emulsifiers have been shown to strip the mucus layer of the gut, which ends up causing leaky gut and dysbiosis as well, or being a pretty significant contributing factor along with diet and chronic stress. So with poor diet, it really is a 1-2 punch that sets us up for these gut issues. And then the gut issues can go on to affect other organ systems in the body negatively as well. In terms of the gut-brain axis, we have a recent review study that looked at 9 different trials, specifically using internet-delivered CBT, meaning it was done through a Zoom session with a therapist or any other sort of digital modality. The studies were anywhere from 5 to 13 sessions over 5 to 10 weeks in length. The patients saw a large effect size and reduction of IBS symptoms, improvement in quality of life, and decreases in depression and anxiety. The cool part is these effects were more long-lasting and durable change. The researchers saw the effects that they lasted at short and long-term follow-up intervals, both at 6 months and 24 months, as long as the patients were still using the practices to self-manage their symptoms. So what does cognitive behavioral therapy for IBS actually mean? At a basic level, researchers cite that their goal is to reframe the view of IBS from helplessness and hopelessness to resourcefulness and hopefulness. So really shifting their view of the symptoms and their overall experience related to their gut. Next is to identify the relationship between their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors with the environment and IBS symptoms. The tools that were used to do this in the research were multifactorial, and they detailed the process. And it started first with education, providing thorough information regarding brain-gut interactions and the interplay there. From there, the clinician would then empower them with self-monitoring tools of the GI symptoms and basically different triggers and the consequences of those triggers in real life. Then stress management techniques and CBT techniques were used, and this would include things like regular muscle relaxation to dampen physiological arousal and increase control of GI symptoms over time. A CBT technique called worry control was also used to challenge and dispute negatively skewed thinking patterns and flexible problem-solving skills to aid with more effective ways of managing realistic stressors. Finally, they provided relapse prevention training to maintain treatment gains. Even just the few trials that we've talked about, we can see how powerful stress management and modification of how we view the world and how we view our symptoms can impact IBS symptoms. The researchers also told the participants to keep their diet constant through this experience, and chances are they were eating pretty close to a standard American diet or Western diet as well. So even with this, without a ton of nutritional guidance, these individuals still saw a large improvement in their GI symptoms and IBS. This might be particularly effective for individuals who tend to catastrophize or ruminate on negative or self-defeating thoughts. This is really where CBT shines, especially in these cases related to gut health. But imagine the results if you took both the food portion and the stress management or brain portion of treatment, and you combine those, and you can see complete remission of most people based on the combination of intelligent nutrition and using CBT. And from an anecdotal perspective, this is what I've seen from a number of my clients and also the cases that we troubleshoot inside the FNMS program. The 360-degree approach will always get better results than just focusing on one single area like supplements by themselves, dietary elimination by itself, or just mindset coaching without any type of major nutritional or supplement changes. If you're a health coach or health enthusiast looking to learn more about gut health, inside this podcast feed, you'll find more episodes specifically related to GI issues, GI symptoms, and what to do about it. Whether it's discussions on dysbiosis, intestinal permeability, or even things like our stomach acid levels and digestive enzymes, the podcast feed is packed with a ton of information on the microbiome and ways that we can improve our gut health and our overall quality of life in the process. If you enjoyed today's episode and you think someone else would benefit from this information about gut health or IBS and managing their symptoms using the brain-gut axis, please consider sharing this show with a friend and leaving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss an episode when we drop new content each and every week. I appreciate you tuning in to today's episode, and I will catch you guys in the next one.